Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Bonanno. I am a producer and the senior official for the United Wrestling Network, and we'd like to welcome you to The Push with Dan Joseph. My co-host this evening is United Wrestling Network commentator Todd Keneley. How you doing,
What's
Todd?
up, everybody?
Hey, Todd. Hey,
Thanks
Nick.
for being here.
Absolutely.
I was saying that voice you just heard is the United Television champion Dan Joseph. How you doing?
Yeah, honestly, I was good. When I was setting up the computer, getting everything ready, I broke a glass. So
What?
I'm gonna have to clean that up. I'm in bed. And it's on my wife's side of the bed, so at least that's a plus.
Okay.
In case I miss anything,
So it's just still saying there. There's the broken glass on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it happened 3 minutes ago when I was getting everything set up. And I don't take chances with computers and stuff because I don't know them too well. So I just get it later. Oh, but other than that, I'm doing well.
Okay, I was. Well, that was really what I was trying to get at. I was like, well, how are you doing? I know that you've evaded the glass. Luckily, I don't know if you're a deathmatch guy now, but that might be the way to get there. That bridge, it's broken a little glass. But I don't know. How do you feel about light tubes? That's not a real question. Oh gosh. What's it called? Yeah. So this week we saw a really nice video package about you, Dan, and just kind of a little glimpse at your entire career, which I think told very, very marvelously. How was it to kind of glimpse back at what you've done in championship wrestling from Hollywood and Arizona through the outside perspective?
So. It's different. You have your view of the world and your view of what you did and how things went and, how people look at you or think of you and everything. And then, to hear it from other people, to see like, oh, these are my words, but now you're putting them together to tell the story. It's definitely an interesting take. And it was neat. I got, great responses. One of them from Mr. Keneley over there on Twitter. And it felt very nice to be complimented like that. So thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this, and I think I mentioned in my comment, I think I led with, it's impossible not to like Dan Joseph. And, whenever you have these documentary pieces, a lot of times it falls in the hands of the editors. Like reality TV, they can on a switch can make somebody look great or look bad or mean. But there's really no gray area. You're just a legit good guy, hard worker, enthusiastic, and I think that really came out in the push piece.
Yeah, that was way better said than what I said. I'm going to go with that answer. For sure. No, thank you. It's great. Absolutely.
I'd say, a thing that you get right from the very beginning of the video. You do this is the start of the interview, all that. I love that they include that Logan included that so much because you get those little tastes of what real Dan Joseph is like, just being around. You get that. I mean, if the people who have been to the Ocean View Pavilion have seen quite a lot of you, but for the folks at home, we don't always get to see that. They get to see that Dad Joseph, or however you want to put it. So I was glad that I guess you couldn't help yourself, but be who you are.
Yeah, I mean the wrestling persona is, for certain people it's way different. For me, it's just kind of my life at an 11. And I'm competitive, and I've grown to be the person now, and being able to just be myself and not have to like, I'm Dan Joseph, I'm the wrestler guy, and let's just talk about life and wrestling and stuff. It was nice.
You talk about your hockey days in the East Coast. Was that your first real experience in competitive physical sports, hockey?
Yeah, I mean, I skated. I don't remember a time when I wasn't like playing hockey. From a young age, started skating. I have a brother who's 2 years older than me, so pretty much everything that he would do, I'd be starting 2 years earlier. Mostly just so that my parents didn't have to drive to 2 different events. So it was nice to play hockey, and I had such a fun time. I love the physical contact. I love I don't want to say like the discipline, but you get on a team and you're working together for a goal, and you're going to practices, a few days a week. Eventually I'm on travel teams, so we're going to different states and playing in tournaments, and almost played like junior hockey level. It's essentially 2 or so steps below like NHL caliber. I was never going to be as good as those guys, but I could be as good as
That
the
was
guys.
what I was going to ask next year.
No,
Yeah. No.
I'll tell you, some dudes are able to just rip pucks, just take a snapshot, a slap shot, and it just the way that you can bend your stick and you actually make the stick work for you instead of it. Whatever. I don't have that skill. Those guys were a lot better than me at that, but I played at a high level for a while. And sorry, I'm shaking the bed. I got the computer on my lap. But I did really enjoy that competitiveness in hockey, Todd. Yes.
Great. So what brought you out to California? What made you kind of chase the dream?
Fortune and glory, kid. I came out. I wanted to be an actor originally. I thought that I didn't see myself in any other type of career. Again, going back to my family, like my dad's a machine repairman. He did that for, however many years and years and years. My brother's a pharmacist. He went to college. He had to go to school and he knew what he wanted to do. For me, I didn't know. I didn't have like a set career path. I knew that I wanted to do something entertaining. I like having fun. I don't want to say the attention, but I like being able to, make people happy or sad or feel or whatever. That's nice. And I always wanted to do something like that. So at the time when I came out to California with my wife, she had a job working and I was going to try to make it as a famous actor. And now I'm here. So that went well.
Just took a different path. Now, a lot of times on commentary, we always refer to you as kind of the first graduate of the Wrestle Center. Can you kind of take us through that? Who trained you? Just kind of your journey then to getting on television with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Yeah, I was mid-20s or so, and I wanted to do something fun before I got too old to do fun stuff. And I was watching wrestling at the time, and I thought, let's try that. Those guys, they're beating each other up, throwing each other around, but look like they're having a blast. So I should try that. I ended up finding the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood school online. And when I showed up, I didn't know, I don't know anything from wrestling when I started. And my trainers were Ty Matthews and, Scorpio Sky. So I had great, physical minds, bodies. They knew how to do things and kind of train me, where eventually I was able to pick up their lessons, because those guys, they know what they're doing and they're very well. So I went to the Hollywood school. It was running out of Santino's for a while. After that, I went to the Pappy Dome and wherever. But my class had the Suttons. You remember Ian and Jamie? Is that Serial Man now? Is that Jamie Sutton? I can't remember. But they were in the class. Jarek 120 was in there. Anderson Cruz was in there. We had a lot of guys that were around, and it was nice training. I was, I think, the first of them to end up on TV just by luck of being there and, somebody needing to get squashed. So it was, kind of dubbing me, I guess, as that, eventual first graduate. Once they figured out that I was going to be around for a while, they felt safe enough calling me the first graduate, I think.
Now, Nick and Dan, I think from watching the push piece, your first TV match was against James Morgan. Was that correct?
Yes.
So that's a big spotlight to get thrown into because the family stone, a lot of surrounding that. And,
and it wasn't only my first TV match. That was my first match. That was the first time I had wrestled. Other than practice matches and training, that was the first time I had ever done any, performing in front of an actual audience. So that was nice. And James, obviously, at that point, he'd been wrestling forever and he really knew what he was doing, really took care of me and just beat me up, talked me through things. And it was easy. Just listen and get hit.
Good thing to point out here, too, connecting the two of you besides that first match is James Morgan, also a former United Television champion. He had the title for quite a while. So
he did. I have it over here, and I was looking at all the names on the plates and everything that was around, and I, seeing the history of who's had this, some of the names that have been on it, and to have that now with my name will be on that too, as very, very I don't know, humbling, is that the right word? It's an honor. Whichever one of those is better, Todd. Go with that one.
Well, and where's Main Event Morgan now? I mean, you've got the title, and he's just like a doctor or something. So
yeah, what's he doing? Saving lives?
Jokes on him.
I barely see him on TV anymore.
Let's look over at our comments real quick. Fred says, Dan the Man. That's everyone says that, really. Yeah.
I mean, it's an easy nickname, but the way that the crowd has kind of just adopted that as, what they shout when I'm out there, it's empowering. You feel that extra, you really do get that surge from them when you're out there. And, when they're yelling that, something as simple, Dan the Man from Fred, it cheers me up. Nice.
We have, bit of a man from your history. We have Clarence from Pack 3 says Dan is the GOAT.
The GOAT.
Everything to say to old.
Are you getting those on Facebook? How are you seeing those?
I see all the comments. I'm all seeing, Dan.
This is
if you look over on the right side of your screen, you should see a tab that says comments.
Oh, there it is. Whoa, hey everybody.
Look at all these people talking to you. John Roberts asks, he says he has a question.
Yes.
Dan, your first pair of tights, did you get those from Peter Avalon? Because they looked awfully familiar to the ones he wore in his debut against Colt Cabana.
I did.
Were they Pete's pants?
They were Pete's pants. I was, I got that when I showed up, like I said, it was the first match I had ever done. It was the first taping I had ever shown up to. I finally felt ready enough in my skill where I could not be too embarrassed, for talking to the wrestlers and all that stuff. So when I showed up, they wanted me to wrestle. I had elbow pads and underwear, but nothing else. So I ended up borrowing kick pads from Sky, I believe. And the tights were 100% those purple and sparkle black tights that Peter wore. I ended up passing them on. They went to Evan, Jericho 120. They went to him. Mm-hmm. He wore them for a little bit. Then they went to Caleb. If you remember Caleb, Peter's.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Peter's protege for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's like the brotherhood of the traveling pants.
It's 100% a rite of passage. And for me, on that day, it was just the pair of pants that I was wearing. But now being a part of that chain too is like, yeah, all right, cool. I'm a link.
I'm kind of impressed that they fit Caleb after you, because I feel like you have real tree trunks of legs there. He's still working on it.
They're getting there. They are tights. They shrink, but when I started, I was probably 20 or so pounds lighter than I am now. I'm right around the 200 mark, and I was about 175 or so when I showed up that first day. So I was more Caleb size than I was my size, I think, at the time.
Now, you touched on it a little bit, Nick, the tag team history with Pac 3, but prior to that, you had Footloose, right?
Yep.
With Todd Chandler, Grant Pachoko's favorite tag team, the greatest tag team of all time. Talk us through that kind of long stretch of Footloose to the breakup into Pac 3 and kind of the difference in your mind. Was there strength in numbers early in your career being part of a team or a faction? Did you find some comfort in that as a performer?
Yes, 100%. Looking back, you go on YouTube and you see what you've done in your past with matches and stuff. And man, I'll tell you, a lot of them, it's just like, okay, maybe I shouldn't watch that one again. Maybe I don't watch that. And being with Todd, I always had the outgoingness, I don't want to, charisma, I guess. I had that drive. I could be loud and I can dance and I can make a fool out of myself. But the wrestling part, I had to learn. And, being a part of Footloose at that time, it was perfect. Todd's going to put together, the matches. We had our special moves that we came up. I kind of designed, I guess, the tights, I in Photoshop with some colors. I can do that. and the learning that I got, not having to have all that pressure on me. I have, 3 other guys and the referee in there that can really help me out. So if I get lost or if I don't know what I'm doing, I can just tag out and, somebody can essentially save me at that time. And when we broke up, I actually, I was going to start doing Paragon Pro Wrestling that was running out of Vegas. And at the time, they didn't want you doing other television. And I didn't end up doing them anyway. So it was, a mistake on my part to kind of walk away. But we had to, break up the group a little bit because I was going to be gone. So they had, the turning, Todd, Shawn Michaels, me, and then I ended up taking a few months off. Came back. We had a short little program, me and Todd, and then kind of turned heel and went to Pac 3.
Which brought you championship gold.
Yeah. That was interesting for sure. Because I don't know, like it was the same, not the same, but it was kind of the same as with Footloose, where I wasn't like 100% confident in what I could do out there. I needed to make sure, okay, let's figure all this out. Let's figure all that out. Walk me through. What is this step? What's that step? And I, kind of let other people plan more probably than I did a lot of times. Cause Dylan Bostic, he had, I don't know, at this point in his career, he probably had 2 or 3 decades of experience already, cause he's just been wrestling, I think, since he was born. So letting him put that together, learning from, basically learning from his mentors through him was very, very helpful. And he had a slower traditional, I mean, maybe just because we were heels, we tried to slow down the matches more than we did in, Footloose, trying to be super exciting and running around. And you got to think of a million cool things to do really fast because you're the good guys and you got to jump and bump and all that stuff. But with Pac 3, we could do that. We could let the faces, we could let the other teams we're wrestling do all their stuff, make all their moves. And then now we're in control. Now slow it down, take your time, and, make them really work to get back into this thing.
Very cool. So Todd mentioned this earlier, but Pac 3 was ended up with your first championship in the United Wrestling Network, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I guess, how was it being World Tag Team Champions for quite a while, if I'm not mistaken?
It was really, really fun. I think you'll have to check on this, as I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that they were using the old heritage titles, I think, for like the whole time. And then when we won the belts is when they introduced the new championships. And we had the 3. We had, one for Coach and one for me and one for Dylan. And, that day that we kicked Dookie out, we had those brand new red, beautiful tag team titles that, that United Wrestling Network has. And getting that, like, here's our new toy, you guys play with it, was exciting and fun. And that level of trust that you are given as a champion, that, you can do this, it was a great boost for my confidence overall.
And I remember it being a lot of fun too, because you did get to kind of have a more grounded style, right? Because you were kind of the technical collegiate style wrestlers, but then you had a lot of moving parts because you had Coach Flex out there throwing penalty flags. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys kind of had the Freebird rule in effect too, where you could swap out who's going to defend the titles. And it was a very, colorful, entertaining part of the program. And you guys became the type of people that people love to hate.
Nick, do you have any thoughts on Pac 3 as a team, as a referee?
Man, I was thinking about this the other day, and I reached out to a couple of our other referees, so Jeremy Marcus and Odie Brown, just to see what their experience, if it was the same as my experience with Pac 3. And for anyone who watched those matches, every referee who's ever been in a Pac 3 match, it was just pure chaos, which made for excellent television, but it stressed out all the referees. Yes. But they say that kind of stuff makes you grow, makes you better what I do. But man, those are killing me sometimes.
We had so many moving parts.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, because just trying to get out of the way of two people can be demanding enough, but let alone when there's four guys and then you have a water boy, then you have Coach Flex jumping up. There's a lot to kind of handle while you're still listening to the crowd, listening to what the producers are saying, and there's a lot of inputs, we should say.
A lot of that was great for me because, as troubling as it was to work with us, that spectacle was just eating. I mean, whatever, it's eating up time for our match. So I don't have to do as much if I can just leave and come back, and maybe Dickie's in there, or maybe Dylan's in there, or maybe we throw Clarence in there, or whatever it is. It really, we had to do so much less to get as much of a reaction, and like learning that too was a big part, I think, in my development. I believe so.
Well, when you have that,
it was very effective.
Yeah, and when you have that many moving parts, timing becomes an issue too, just to make it all click. And you guys pulled it off.
Well, plus, and not to, I don't even think I mentioned it yet, but like Coach, Coach Flex, his energy levels out there, like sometimes you can see a guy wrestle and you know him in the back and you know how he really is and you know how his character is and you know all that, but that was Flex. That was almost 100%. He threw less things in the back, but that was almost him. And it was nice because he's got that energy all the time, and then he can go out there and just let it all out. And the people absolutely loved to yell at him. So it was a perfect casting for that part.
Of course. Let me jump back over to our comments real quick. Debbie says, "Is this your mom?"
Maybe.
Says,
Buffalo.
Greetings and congrats, champ, mom and dad.
Hey, I told you to go to sleep. You have work in the morning and you're on the East Coast. Go to sleep. I love you. Go to bed. Watch this on YouTube. But thanks for the watch.
How supportive has your family back home been through your wrestling career, and even just you moving to California in general?
That's the first time anyone said anything, was that message from my mom. I think a lot of my family doesn't even know I'm in California. No, I'm lying. Absolutely lying. We had a very close family. Me leaving to California from Buffalo, I was maybe the first person. Well, I have an aunt and uncle that live in Florida from my grandma's side. But my grandma's side, I got grandmas on both sides. But I'm the first person that kind of left family and went out on their own. And, now I got a cousin in Germany currently. I think I got another one that's looking to move down south. We're kind of finally breaking away. And my family's been in Buffalo since we came here, in 1900. Big steps. And now I'm here talking to you guys. But for real though, for Todd, like, I don't know, doing the announcing, I don't know how it was to work with me in the beginning. I'm sure I jumped on things and missed a lot of opportunities, but I know, like, doing that aspect of my career, coming back and, sitting with you and learning from you, that was ridiculous how much knowledge that, like, you have. You compliment me, I'm going to compliment you.
I appreciate it.
Just say, like, it was like sitting in class the whole time. It was excellent.
I appreciate that. And, and it was so much fun having your enthusiasm, but it came out of something negative. It came out of your injury, right? Mm-hmm. Had that knee injury. You talked about it on the push. It sidelined you, and you get the call from David Marquez. Now, when he asked you to join the broadcast team, at first you jumped in with Joe Galley and Johnny LaQuasto, and then we linked up. What were your thoughts? Were you apprehensive at all? Were you excited? Is it something that maybe subconsciously you always wanted to try? I'm just curious, how that came to be.
I didn't want to wear a tie. I wore a tie once, and I had to buy suits, so I wasn't looking forward to that. I hadn't worn a suit either since high school when I was going to my, we had to dress uniforms. But for real though, it was exciting. I grew up, watching things. One of the things I was thinking when I was doing that announcing was kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 type of a show. Where, I had the real guys that were doing the announcing. I had Joe and Johnny, or I had you, and I trust you guys to take care of all the heavy lifting, so I can just sit back and kind of crack jokes, sprinkle in the, oh, that looks like that really hurt his back, or if something was, real wrestling wise, that I could kind of spice up a little with the commentary. But, you guys carrying the load for sure allowed me to just relax and talk and just be myself. And, I got a positive reaction from that. So that was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think honestly, it's such a silly thing, but it's one of my favorite memories in commentary because, I've been around forever. I've worked with Marquez since 2000, starting with UPW, when John Cena was the prototype. But it was, one of our first times working together, and I'll never forget it. For the fans watching, we always have somebody in our ear, and the producer comes on and says, all right, we got to go to break in 5, 4, 3. You happen to be talking at the time. And you just nonchalant. You go, hey, everybody, we got to take a break. Hey, Todd, why don't you tell them about that? And it was like, tell them all about that. And it was like caught me so off guard because I'm thinking you're going to throw it to break. You're like, we got to take a break. Todd, tell them about that. We got to take a break. We'll be back. It was just so hilarious. And we were laughing. And you could hear everybody in the control room laughing throughout the break. And it was just such a genuine, funny moment. It was great.
I mean, I think my favorite part about it was I was just 100% honest. I was not making a joke or not doing anything. I just wanted you to take us to break.
Yeah, it was that. And then when we do our show opens or on-camera opens, and anytime Heather Monroe was on the show, and coming up in action, the Killer Bay, Heather Monroe. Heather Monroe! You would just go
Your
off.
favorite, not my favorite, everybody's favorite.
It was so funny. And I remember at the time we got to call a lot of the content for the NWA that filmed through us at Ocean View. And some of the fans that weren't familiar with you, I remember laughing so hard because they're like, who's this guy that sounds like Gilbert Gottfried? And I'm thinking, Dan, you missed so much money when they needed a new Affleck duck, the voice.
Right? I could have voiced Iago in the Aladdin movie.
There you go.
I could have done anything.
Yep. But no, it was a blast. You mentioned, and I always talk about on commentary when you're wrestling, especially in your match for the television title with Royce Isaacs. I think it was Andrew Jasic at the time. This guy doesn't have a chance. And I made the point, well, he's been up here in the broadcast booth studying every move of Royce Isaacs. He's called countless Royce Isaacs matches. You mentioned that in the push. Is that legit? As a performer, did you notice little nuances and things sitting at announce?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. You go out there with your plan. You have the match that you want to do, and it's in your head. Okay, I'm going to do this and this. And you think of the reactions that you're going to get from the audience. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you read it wrong and you don't do it. So watching what people were doing, being able to get that learning experience without having to be the one to try it was just instrumental. I could see, like I said in the push, I saw sitting next to you every match. I watched every match 100% from the moment they walked out, before they walked out to way after they left. I watched everything. And I heard all the producers. I heard everybody's comments, everything that they said, everything that worked, everything that didn't work. And then to see it on the show to see where, okay, this is when he did that in the show, it looked good, but then on camera, you got to make sure you talk to the guy so the camera picks this up. You have to do this, and there's a million things that you might not think of unless you're watching it from, the same thing from like two different angles. And that time, spent with you announcing and the time spent just watching those shows, it made me. I can't put a real number or whatever. I can't quantify how much better I feel as a performer with that knowledge that I gained. It's instrumental to where I am now. That and me dancing during the Spanish Opens. That made me where I am now.
That's where I wanted to go, Nick. And I'll throw it to you on this. You talked about you talked about seeing Dan in his element. You mentioned briefly how the Ocean View Pavilion. I don't think anything has gotten Dan over more as a babyface than those Spanish on-camera opens. If you could elaborate that, and then Dan, it was magic.
we do the show open. So you're standing there, I'm standing there, and we're telling the audience, all right, this week we have blah, 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 and Heather Monroe and all the other people that are coming on. And it's fine. It's entertaining. But when you have, when you have so many openings, you have 3 or 4 openings for us, and then you have 3 or 4 openings for Spanish commentary, and then you have whatever other production things, and the people were waiting outside for an hour and a half, and then they're sitting on their butts for another 45 minutes waiting for the show to start. And then anything that goes wrong is another 15, 20 minutes on top of that. So I decided that I wanted to, make sure that not only do they have something, to look to or to look forward to while these things are going on, I assumed, and I would think rightly so, I don't watch the show in Spanish, that, the crowds are really, they're laughing. Because what I would do as I'm explaining it, and I'm not telling people what I did, I would start, basically just taking my clothes off to like my underwear, I guess. And I would just dance and be a fool and run around, and any, silly, funny, entertaining thing that I could think of, I would, try to do just to keep that energy and, make them forget that they were just sitting outside for 2 hours waiting for a show to start. And the crowds, they ate it up. They loved it, man.
It looked like every 80s wrestling comeback times 100. You're clapping, you're doing this, it's like you're fighting up. It was great. It was nonsense. And I really think that is where the Dan the Man chant kind of was born from after that. Like the reaction after you came back to the ring because of that was beyond anything you'd experienced in your career, I think.
Yes. Yeah. It like you said, you said it exactly. It got me over more than anything else that I had ever done and probably ever will. I don't know about that.
But then you did come back to the ring. You had the whole program with Ty Matthews and calling you out, talking about your family, made it very personal. How was that being a performer and having to play that reality-based?
It's easier now. Like when I was younger, I wasn't like I'm nothing like I don't want to say making me cry or whatever, but like I never really cried at things, at movies, or whatever. But I have kids now, man, and it changes you. I get like emotional sometimes. I watch the wrong commercials, and I'm like, all right, like yeah, my kids are gonna be driving a car one day. And when I, was working with Tyler, then I was able to, channel that, but feel that. And when I told him like, hey, you're this is the last promo that you're doing in the ring before this is the one where you're calling me out. This is the one where there's no more hints or who is it? Who do I want to wrestle? This is the one. So I said, these are my kids' names. This is my wife's name. Go for it. He's my friend. He was one of the first people I met in wrestling. He was my trainer from day one. I trained longer with him than with anybody else as a teacher. So for him to, lay in the way that he did, it was, I could not feel it, but I could feel it and really draw off of that for, our matches then.
Yeah. And then moving from that, there was the open challenge of Royce Isaacs. Mm-hmm. And who comes firing through the curtain but Dan the Man. And ultimately, we know what happens. You became the United Television Champion. Just talk about what that meant to your career, to your family. The fans ate it up. And you truly, a people's champion. That's thrown around a lot in the business. But you were very much that. But now you have the gold to back it up.
Yes. To get that, we already touched on that this, Hollywood is my first match, my first promotion, the home where I trained. And to go from getting squashed forever to the tag teams, to the tag team gold, to, then being trusted with the title, the television championship, like to have that placed on your shoulders and go ahead, go wrestle and represent us as the champion. It's an honor. It's incredible. I never would have thought that I was going to be a wrestler. When I was a kid, I kind of wanted to do it. And then I found out that, Hogan's 6'9" and Andre's 7'5" and my grandpa's 5'6". I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I'll find another job. But now, you just keep working and keep plugging away, and 7-8 years into the career, finally you get tapped, and it's incredible for me. I know for my wife, I'm sure she knows I'm a champion. No, she's very supportive. The kids love it. My youngest, he talks about wanting to see me wrestle again, and he's 3 years old. Whenever he sees wrestling on TV, no matter who it is, he's, "Oh, Daddy, wrestling," and I'm like, "No, it's, you know what I look like, right?" Unless my wife's not telling me something.
Well, I'd say as champion, excuse me, as champion, you've already had a number of what? You already had a number of. I'm almost 30
I'm glad
years old.
you did it before me.
Yeah. What's it called? So as champion, you've already had a number of, I'd say, colorful title defenses against a menagerie of opponents. This weekend, so tomorrow, we're seeing a replay of your match against Ice Williams.
Yes.
And I think that's a match that not a lot of people, maybe they slept on it, not going into it, like, oh, they didn't know what to expect. And that's a match that really made a star out of the both of you, I'd say.
Dude,
how's it working with Ice?
It was great. I punched him in the face once, which wasn't ideal, but he just, his charisma out there, the way that he just has that confidence, and he just struts and walks, and he does all his moves, and he's got all that character stuff that took me forever to get. So being, to see that for as young as he is, to have that type of knowledge of, where you are in the ring, it's great. And I felt, like you said, that match, it's so, Dan Joseph versus Ice Williams, okay versus okay. And all of a sudden, I thought it was one of the better matches I had lately. I had a ton of fun with him in there.
And
talk about the difference of working somebody like Ice Williams and then somebody that's so rudimentary, great character guy, great veteran like a Levi Shapiro, just an entirely different type of opponent, and another big feud for your title thus far in your reign.
I mean, Levi wants to do less big spots, and that's fine with me. But it is different. You have slower moments. You have more things where you're showing your character less through the physical, like the actual moves, and you're doing it more through looks and more through the things that you don't do. When you go for a tie up and he ducks it, when you do, it's those things that just like, okay, this is the kind of guy he is, when for the fans, watching it. And for me, it's, as babyface champion, I want to fight and I want to wrestle. And if you're ducking and dodging and you're pulling all your little tricks and all your, don't care for that, don't care for Howdy Price grabbing my foot, and I just want to fight you. So that, you're able to build off of that. So then when we do start, moving and bumping and throwing, that energy has been kind of climbing up throughout the whole match. And then he's into it, throwing stuff. And it's, it is a different experience for sure, but it's fun. One of the favorite things that I was able to do not with the championship, but with the Pac 3 championship, is just wrestle a stream of different baby faces. I have my offense and Dylan has his offense. And when you're the heel wrestling these matches, you get to have those baby faces come in and just light you up, and you get to wrestle the matches that they want until you can, do whatever you have to do to cut them down and take over. And it's fun. It's very different wrestling that way. Wrestling as a face, you have to be the one bringing that action and excitement to the table every time. So I'm very glad that that's happened to me now in this point in my career, as opposed to 3-4 years ago or whenever.
Yeah, if I can just tag one more thing really quick, Nick, just really fast, because we talked about your matches with Levi Shapiro. One of my favorite moments in your title reign thus far, you have a title defense against Shapiro. You actually lose the match by disqualification because Buddy Royal attacks Shapiro, and you celebrate like you won, the Super Bowl. It was hilarious.
I was the trash man. I won. I don't care about what's going on. I hold it on to my title. That's all that mattered. It was fun. It's nice when somebody has an idea like that. Like that was, a Yuma. As far as I know, that was a Yuma idea.
I think it was Yuma. Yeah.
As I heard it from him, I assume it's him. And for it to work, watching it on TV, you don't really know what it's going to look like or how it's going to turn out because you really see it. And just watching, me just smiling like a big dork in the middle of everything while they're, fighting to the death, it seems, is great. It turned out great, and it was just fun. That's the part that I like. Yeah.
Gosh, it turned out so much better than it sounded funny when I heard it that there was going to happen. But Todd mentioned earlier that like when you can hear the laughter of the control room, and that's a group of people who've seen everything under the sun. So I remember I'm trying to pull Buddy off of Levi there, and I can't see you, but I know you're dancing in the background, and the entire back control room is just erupting. So
that was always my favorite
definitely,
time. When I could get, not now in the ring because I don't have an earpiece or anything, but whenever I could get the guys, whenever I could get like Billy or Yuma to laugh, or if I could get Todd to like break for a second because you're, such a professional on that. If I could get you to just lose it a little bit, like it just made my day, and it gave I just wanted to keep going. Then it was so much fun.
Outstanding.
Barb. Hi. That's another Buffalo name. Hey, everybody.
Riley says, it's been great seeing you and your character evolve over the past 5 years. My son and I have been going to see WFH. You got the support.
Riley. I feel the same way. I've had a blast going through all the different phases and my terrible haircuts and everything. And I really liked growing and doing. Maybe I should do it more. I don't go and wrestle a ton around. I wrestle at Hollywood. I wrestle some promotions around Southern California. And, obviously now nothing's going on, but I don't do a lot all around. I like the spots that I go, and I like growing and feeling that growth. And, for you guys to be there basically as long as I have, and to be a part of that development too, Riley. Thank you, man.
You mentioned earlier, Dan, how helpful it was as part of Pack 3, as a part of the team, going up against all these different types of opponents, different, babyface opponents, while still learning with the diverse team that you had, or at least the different mindsets that you guys all had. Now that you're on the other side of that, and especially with someone like Levi Shapiro, who has a manager, how was your approach to, working in matches or even just interacting with managers, since you had such a notable manager for such a notable part of your career?
I mean, what the managers do. They have the games that they like to play on the outside, grabbing feet, distracting refs, all that stuff. As a I'm trying to make sure that those things look good and look believable. When there are certain times where the spectacle, instead of adding, can be just a distraction. If things don't look tight enough, if things don't look crisp enough, it can take away from a match. And, luckily at Hollywood, throughout the years that I've been there, we've really developed into I feel a pretty strong team of competitors, of definitely on, production side, on managers and everything, that we've grown. So like working with, Howdy in these things, he's fun. I every time I would say it, Todd, like it's true. Whenever we were doing announcing, like Howdy, his intro, it's my favorite intro and my favorite intro song in all of wrestling. I love his coming out, just being annoying and loud and singing. And it lets you know who he is and what he is. And that's fun. If that answers your question, Nick.
Do you have a Howdy Price impression?
No. Howdy! I can't do it right now. Please.
That'll do.
I loved it.
Gosh.
It was the hardest thing in the world for me to not sing along with that song. It was so difficult.
So we went over this in the video a little bit about your different injuries that had plagued you for the last couple of years. So I want to say, when people come off injury, they usually try to work a more safe style. And I assume that you would kind of be that same way. And then I saw, I think it was in the Ice Williams match, where he drop kicked you off the top rope and you took like the nastiest spill to the floor.
Dude, I know.
Are you I guess, are you feeling more adventurous, or like in this new lease of your career?
It's definitely not that I feel more adventurous. that kick was there, man. That kick was there. And it's tough when you're in that mindset in the middle of a match and you've been going for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 8 or whatever it is. It feels, and you're tired and you're exhausted and you're selling and everything. And then somebody lays a real good kick into you. And, what are you going to do, man? You're going to just like sit there like a bump on a log. He laid it into me and I just started going and I'm like, all right, let's try to keep this one safe. But that was definitely more of a real type of thing than, me saying like, hey, you know what would look cool? Falling to my death.
And that leads me to say something too. When you have these title defenses like you had against Ice Williams, most guys will go back through the curtain. They'll check in with production. They'll check in with everybody. Oh, great job. But I think it was in the push, just that clip of you standing out there with the title right after a match as the people leave. You're high-fiving them. You're hugging. You're kissing babies, and like I said, the people's champion. I think you grew up. You earned this. You have a respect for it, and that the fans, make it all happen, and that's not lost on you. And you put in the time, and I think that's special.
I mean, they help matches 100% when you're out there and you hear them screaming or crying or yelling or whatever they're doing. No matter what their reaction is, it is helping you. It's giving you energy. Or if they're sitting there, not making a noise, okay, this isn't working. I need to do something else. Whatever it is, they are a huge, huge part of it. And to finally, feel like it's something that they like to see. They like to see me go out there and do this thing. It's great. And I, hopefully I don't want to lose that. And when I go out there and I'm, shaking their hands, it's not like, hey guys, be my fan. It's like, hey guys, thank you for being my fan. Like, this is, thank you. I'm just some kid from Buffalo.
Well, sorry.
No, I'm good. You're up.
Okay, so as we're preparing to come back, hopefully for Championship Wrestling from Arizona and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood tapings in the next couple of weeks or months, what's next for you? What do you want to do next?
I'll say that, being part of the announced team, like before and then currently still with Arizona, you sit in all the production meetings and you hear everything and people say, well, maybe this will happen and maybe that'll happen. And you never know what's going to end up happening. But
of course,
it seems like this is a time in professional wrestling where a lot of things are starting to pick up, new promotion, AEW is coming in and, they're, trying to, their production value looks incredible and the people they have look great. There's a lot of stuff that, you hear rumors, this might go on, that might go on. And if it's things, with the United Wrestling Network, like this is my home and this is the place that I enjoy, wrestling at so much. So if there will be future things going on here, great. If something takes me somewhere else, if I go to another promotion at some point, if I end up getting signed to whoever, it'd be great. I'd love to go. I would really, seeing the production value and how it looks on TV, how the matches are, I would enjoy like trying to hit the NWA show for sure. I like that. I like that studio show. I think that compared to a lot of other promotions, they do a more, grounded style that's, much better. Like that's where I, my type of style almost, I think.
Definitely.
And it, it looks great. And it's, on top of that, it's the NWA, doing the matches with you, Todd, like you said, us doing the announcing, there's a real history and a real, amount of respect that comes with that name, NWA. And, being any part of that is fun. That would be one place I would like to go. Pretty much any other place would be fun to go. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. No, and I think you would fit in really well with the NWA roster. Spinning it back to the both of you as commentators, what does it mean to both of you announcing for a big title match or commentating a big title match, whether it be NWA, whether it be United, whether it be anywhere?
This is your show, Dan,
first,
so go for it.
No, man, you're gonna say a great answer and blow me out of the water. So please, I was gonna make some dumb joke about my favorite part being Adnan announcing, but that's only because he said hi in the comments.
I'll say, yeah, he just joined the chat here. Hi, Adnan.
Hello.
Adnan.
Golden voice. But you tell me. No, you go ahead.
Well, Adnan,
Adnan. Okay.
As I say, Adnan always sets the stage. Here to set the stage, ring announcer Adnan Qureshi, because then, of course, it's all about the championship.
Yeah.
He's good. I like him.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Todd.
But no, anytime a title's on the line, there's that little something extra. And as a commentator, it allows you to go into the history of the title and the lineage. And especially, in the chances I've had, the opportunities I've had to call an NWA title match. And I remember 2011 calling, Colt Cabana defeating Adam Pearce on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for the 10 pounds of gold. You're calling history. And whether the NWA's lost its luster here and there and it's gone up and down and it's all been about bringing that back, it's part of that title lineage. And I think Championship Wrestling from Hollywood at the time did a lot to really shine the 10 pounds of gold up again. And it's special anytime you can call a title match. And same, with our respective titles, the Heritage title, your television title, United Tag Team titles, which have been defended, in China and all over. There's just that little, it's game day. When the title's on the line, it's a bigger match for the competitors, the performers, but it's also a bigger match for the commentators, I feel.
Yeah, I agree 100% to that. Something that I want to say, because you just mentioned a name that I'd like to make a comment about with Adam Pearce. I know he's got his COVID thing that was going through, so hopefully, quick recovery on that. But he's someone that, there's been a few times he pretty much left when I got in, and so I didn't really get a chance to learn too much from him, to talk too much with him. He was around a little bit, but I never really was able to hear from him, and I wanted to, because man, the knowledge, the skill that guy has is ridiculous. Watching him wrestle, it's that very real, hard style that I enjoy. And currently, I was waiting to say this until I felt like I was good enough, but now that I'm the champion, I guess I can. My trunks that I have like a little slit design thing in like white and blue on my orange, and it's 100%. I stole it from his tights. It's the stuff that he has on his gear, and I was just like, I like him. I'm gonna wear his stuff. So that was, since you brought him up, I figure I might as well share that little tidbit.
You've stolen a lot of pants in your career.
Shockingly, at the Pac 3, I had in the push, there was a shot of me getting booted by Watts, and those trunks were from Dickie that I took. So I finally got I gotta get my own stuff one of these days, man.
You do have a gear maker, right? It's not just being passed around. You got a guy, or you got a lady?
I got a guy. He actually, within the last few years or whatever, he moved 5-10 minutes from my house. So awesome. Awesome. Yeah, my guy used to be down in down in the city of LA, and it took me an hour to get to him or whatever, and that's not fun driving around.
True.
Yeah.
Well, we might not see your pants in this situation, but do you think you'll get back in the commentary booth at Hollywood?
I don't know. I mean, I would love to go in every now and then, as a guest spot for sure, while I'm still wrestling. But when the wrestling's done, or if they want me to do an Arizona thing ever where I'm commentating and sometimes wrestling like a Lawler type of deal, I'm going to do whatever I can do to make the show as good as it can be. And if they feel that it's announcing, then I'll do that. If they feel like it's wrestling, then I'll do that. If whatever it is, I'm just trying to make this look as good as I can.
Amazing. Dan, can we find you online anywhere? Are you on social media?
Yes, I am technically on social media. I would say go to Facebook, to Twitter. Can I change my name on this? I got Yes That Dan on Twitter. It's underscored between the words. Yes _that_Dan, because all the good names were taken.
Mm-hmm. All right, so follow Dan on Twitter.
Yeah.
How about you, TK? Todd?
Yes, sir. At Todd Keneley on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. Just look up Todd Keneley, and at T Keneley on Instagram.
Ooh, Instagram. I'm on that too, I think.
There you go.
All right.
Twitter.
Anything you're trying to plug there with your Instagram, or just sticking to Twitter? Enough said.
No. Well, I downloaded. Was there other stuff? I don't know. I'm looking. There's like a million social media sites that are starting to pop up. So I don't even know what's going on anymore. But when wrestling starts back up, I'm sure, like everyone else, I'll just be on Twitter tweeting all, being that guy again.
I'm happy to hear that. Well, everyone, I am at Nicholas Bonanno. You can follow United Wrestling on Twitter, at United Wrestling Network on Instagram, and search YouTube and Facebook for United Wrestling Network. So make sure to catch us all there. And shout out to everyone who networks with United. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Good stuff, everybody.
All right. Bye.